Good evening. Today is Tuesday, May the 19th, 2026. I cannot believe we're almost at the end of the month of May. Well, there's no shortage, no matter what time of the month it is, there's no shortage of conversation to talk about when it comes to the NHL and Maple Leafs. And we have Gil Martin back from Locked On Islanders and Locked On NHL to discuss. Gil, I want to thank you so much for taking some time to join me here tonight.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for asking me back.
Always a pleasure. And it's always fun and always like to talk NHL. Let's start by talking about starting with the Leafs initially sort of hiring. What they've done here is they've hired Mats Sundin and John Chayka to lead their front office. And when you first saw that, now, of course, as you know, it was rumored for a little bit before it was officially announced. But what was your initial reaction to the John Chayka hiring specifically?
I think I was a little surprised by it, to be honest with you. And yet, the Leafs have a lot of work to do when you look at where they are and where they want to go and sort of the task that lies ahead for this team to sort of find itself and get past what it's gone through over the last couple of years. So, they need to bounce back. And the question is, do you need to break down the whole team and build it back up, or can you start with where you are and go forward?
Yeah, and I think too that were you surprised because of Chayka's because he's been out of the NHL for a little bit, because of his track record in Arizona, which of course we know at the time wasn't very good.
Yeah, although, playing in Arizona at that time, there were some obstacles, obviously, to success with the way ownership was and attendance was. So there were issues there. Not that you give him a full pass for that, but he wasn't playing with a full deck of cards and still trying to win, put together a winning hand, so to speak.
Right, and that makes sense too, because, the situation wasn't great. But it kind of sort of turned out that was what he was working with. And then, of course, it really feels like they're really sort of starting to clean house a bit further, because then a little while later, just last week, they dismissed Craig Berube. I don't know if I can say that I was surprised. I mean, the fact is he's certainly a good coach, but he didn't deliver the results this past season.
Yeah, I mean, this year was not what anybody in Toronto expected or wanted. And I think it goes beyond just this year, because if you think about it, you bring in, new management. They want to bring in their own coach. And theoretically, they could have held on to Berube and seen what happened this year. But ultimately, new GM, new front office, they're entitled to bring in their own person. And I saw what happened with the Islanders, for example, and Patrick Waugh, where they waited until 4 games left in the season to replace, the coach. And I just think it would have been cleaner to do it right away rather than sort of have a situation where the management and the coach were not necessarily on the same page.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and of course the Islanders and they of course brought in Pete DeBoer. Yeah,
going to be interesting to see how that plays out this year.
Yeah. And that's because certainly, because only 4 games, there's really no real, there wasn't really a telling as to how that would go. And then, of course, and the surprising one for me when it came to the Leafs was Brandon Pridhom. I was actually very surprised that they let him go.
Yeah, a little bit surprising on my end too. But again, people want to bring in their own people, so I get it, but. At the same time, you could make an argument for him. You could make an argument for Berube and why they should stay. but ultimately, there's only 32 jobs in the NHL. Toronto, probably the biggest pressure cooker of all of them out there.
Yeah.
And if you're going into that pressure cooker, you want all the right pieces in place for you to do the job as well as possible.
Yep. And of course, it was rumored today when it comes to Berube. It was rumored that I don't want to say rumored, but it is out there that Edmonton's interested in him.
I don't think he'll be unemployed for long. Number one, he has a good track record. He's won a Stanley Cup. Number two, the NHL recycles coaches constantly. I can't imagine he'll be out of work long, whether it's Edmonton or somewhere else.
I mean, and they let go of Chris Knobloch last week.
Yeah, and, look, disappointing finish in Edmonton after going to the Cup final for back-to-back years, being eliminated in the first round. So I get it. And that's another team that has enjoyed success for a long time, but is at a crossroads and has to figure out the path forward. Is it time to start changing that core? Can they win the way the team is presently constructed, a very top-heavy roster? Or, can they just tweak things and get back to where they were?
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting question. And And we should also mention here, congratulations to the Montreal Canadiens for moving on.
Yeah, big win, Game 7 in Buffalo. Not an easy, probably one of the more entertaining and evenly matched series that I've seen in a while. And, look, the Canadiens, they've won more Stanley Cups than any other franchise, but they haven't won since 1993. Those fans are hungry for another championship, and they are now one round away from representing the East in the final.
Yeah, and certainly, yes. I can see that series kind of going a little, the Montreal and Carolina series, I kind of see that going 6-7 games.
I could too, and it's a very interesting contrast of styles because Montreal, they play with good speed and movement of the puck, and Carolina, their system is designed to stop puck movement and keep you on the perimeter and not let you have momentum entering the offensive zone. So it's going to be interesting to see who controls the tempo in those games, and also, in my mind, how much home ice advantage and having the last change impacts what we see on the ice.
Yep. Yeah, that's going to be the that's certainly going to be the big one there. And you also have the Avalanche and the Golden Knights in the West. Now, that's an interesting story too, because Tortorella recently got fined for so I think that they're in an interesting situation there too.
Yeah, Tortorella violating the league's rules for post-game availability. He was warned a few times, according to the reports that I've seen, and it happened again, and costing Vegas, a high draft pick. That's pretty substantial penalty, and what they fined Torts $100,000. But you know what? Torts is going to be Torts, and at this stage of his career and of his life, I don't see him changing who he is and how he does things, fine or no fine.
No, I don't either. Because he is who he is at the end of the day.
Yep, ultimately.
Whether certainly, we can certainly argue with that yes, he shouldn't be, that it was something he shouldn't have done, but that's just, he has a record for things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, sometimes you were just willing to pay the price, right?
Yeah,
I think if the Vegas Golden Knights win a Stanley Cup this year under Tortorella, they will not care all that much about losing a second-round pick and paying the fine and all of that. And if you look at where the team was when they hired Tortorella and the run they've been on since they hired him, for the short term at least, that hiring worked out brilliantly for Vegas.
Yes, for the short term, yes, it did because of where they are, certainly, and of course, and I mean, of course, and of course with Mitch Marner as well, the former Leaf, actually.
Yeah, and Marner really kind of sending a message, even if it's indirectly, to the critics that he had in Toronto who were saying, oh, big games, playoff situations, he doesn't show up. He showed up this year for sure. And he's kind of silencing some of those critics as a result.
Absolutely, yeah, he certainly is because, he's. I mean, it's something like, see, that's something that every sort of player sort of want. I mean, it's something I think he certainly wanted to do. He wanted to, he wants to win the cup. That's what he wants to do. And he's he's at that stage in his career where certainly I think, he's at a spot where he certainly can do it.
Yeah, he absolutely is. And, whether or not it's this year or in the near future, we don't know. But, right now in 12 playoff games, 18 points, 7 goals, a plus 11, leads the league in points, leads the league in plus minus in the playoffs. I mean, he's off to one heck of a start. And we're only halfway through the playoffs right now, 2 rounds down, 2 rounds to go.
Yep. And I mean, and now of course the Avalanche too. Like they got Nazem Kadri in the of course at the trade deadline, and that is certainly that is certainly he returned to Colorado, and that's certainly looking like it's given them some success as well.
Absolutely, and the thing I like about them getting Kadri back is that, earlier in Calgary, he had to be one of the guys who's sort of carrying the team. He goes to Colorado and he can just be, a depth player, a middle six kind of a guy. They're not relying on him for offense, but what he gives them is definitely welcomed. So the pressure is not quite the same for him here. And I think right now, at this stage of his career, at the age of 35, him being a role player on a deep Colorado team is a perfect fit for him.
Yeah, and of course, Landeskog has looked good as well there.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a heartwarming story because you look at how many years of his career he missed as a result of that serious injury, wins the cup and then gets the injury after an incredible season. And now he's back. He's a point-a-game player, practically 8 points in 9 games right now. And for him to, lead this team again, and it's such a deep team. I think talent-wise right now, the Avalanche have to be considered, number 1 in the league. The way they've played all season, it's a great story to see Landeskog back to where he is.
Yeah, absolutely, and certainly, I think for those of us that really enjoy the NHL, this is like these playoffs have been very, very. I have honestly enjoyed it. I've really been enjoying the playoffs this year. And was I surprised to see the Wild not in the third round? Yes, I was actually cheering for the Wild, but it's great to see the Avalanche kind of make it.
Yeah, and that sort of brings up the sort of big picture question about the playoff format, because having Dallas and Minnesota go head-to-head in round 1, and then Minnesota and Colorado go head-to-head in round 2. Those are arguably the 3 best teams in the league, and if they're not the 3 best teams in the league, they're certainly the top 4 or 5. And the fact that they did so well in the regular season and had such a difficult matchup right away in round 1, is it better for the league if they go back to 1 versus 8 in the conference or 1 versus 16 and just drop the conference, East and West thing, that's a whole different set of circumstances. But it wasn't fair in my mind that Dallas and Minnesota had to face each other in round one.
Yeah, you know what? If they decide to do that, drop the East versus West, I'd be okay with that.
I mean, they did it that way in the very early 80s. I remember, Edmonton and the Islanders, for example, I think it was 1981, played in either the first or second round of the playoffs. They just went 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15. And the downside to that is travel, obviously. Yeah. But as far as fairness is concerned, can't get any fairer than that. You're rewarding the teams that played well all regular season.
So I guess you can kind of look at it. So it's kind of like how it's kind of like how MLB does the interleague play. Well, which they used to do it. They used to do it like for a couple of weeks, but now it's like every team still kind of plays each other to balance the schedule out during the regular season anyway.
Yeah, now it's just part of the regular schedule, and it's not a special occasion anymore. You still have, the White Sox and Cubs, or the Mets and the Yankees, the Dodgers and the Angels, those rivalries, but it's now just part of the schedule. Where, when I was growing up, and I am a lifelong Mets fan, the thought of the Mets playing the Detroit Tigers or the Oakland Athletics during the regular season was alien.
Yep. Yeah. And, the Mets, Howie Rose did their broadcast for a number of years. I sometimes I listened to it in the playoffs. I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah, Howie's great. And of course, he used to work for the Islanders, used to work for the Rangers before that. Very nice guy. I know Howie, and absolutely great guy and a very good broadcaster, both for hockey and for baseball.
Yeah. And so if we look at it, and now, of course, predictions are always, predictions don't really mean anything. I get that, but I think it's kind of fun to do it sometimes. So
sure.
My sort of thing is, I'm actually going for, in the two series that are left, the four out of the 4 teams that are left, I have to give it to Montreal. I take Montreal, Carolina. I take the Canadiens in. I think this is going to go 7. I take the Canadiens in 7, and I take the Golden Knights. I think that's going to go 7 games too.
Wow. And you're picking both underdogs.
Yes. Who's your pick?
I can't go against the Avalanche right now.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it'll go 6 or 7. I think both of these are long series. I think Montreal has a better chance of pulling off the upset. But, here's the thing about Carolina. They have been in the playoffs and made deep playoff runs so often in the last 7 or 8 years. They never get past the conference final. To me, one of the keys to this series, how much psychologically is that haunting the Carolina Hurricanes? And can they get past that we never make it out of the conference final jinx, so to speak?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that that's it. They've never really, they haven't really, they haven't made it out of the, that's right. They haven't made it out of the conference finals in a while. And I think I think this is going to be, but either way, I don't see I do see, with the way that this series has gone, with the way that these playoffs have gone, I still kind of see, I don't see Carolina out I don't see them going out of the playoffs that easily. I think it's going to be a push to 7.
It's going to be a very interesting series, very contrasting styles between these two teams. And, I think the Hurricane style is built for playoff hockey. They kind of play a playoff type style all year long, but it's a grueling style to play, and it may wear you down over the course of a season. And meanwhile, I got to give credit to the Montreal Canadiens front office, because say what you want about the Habs, they built this team the right way. To me, when I look at the Islanders, I would love for them to follow the model that the Canadiens put together for building up a team. They did it gradually, predominantly through the draft. And I think they just really handled it well. And this is a young, fast, balanced team with good leadership. And neither one of these teams is going to be an easy out.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I think, and that's really something that, and that's the unique thing about it. I was not expecting Edmonton to exit to have a first round exit like they did. I thought they would at least push a little further. But anyway, it happened.
Yeah. Yes, it did. And we'll see where Edmonton goes from here, because like I said, I think they're kind of at a crossroads where, they've got star players, but they've never really settled on a goalie. And, do they have the cap space to keep those, the Dreisaitl's and the McDavids and the Hymans together and still put enough talent around them to win a cup? They've come close, but they couldn't quite pull it off.
Yeah. And what'd you think of Jarry's performance?
Of whose performance?
Tristan Jarry.
I can't say that I was shocked. I mean, he is wildly inconsistent. When he's on, he can be as good as anybody, but he's not always on. And when he's off, he can. I've seen him against the Islanders, for example, when he was in Pittsburgh, and Islander fans on social media were joking that Jarry was the Islanders MVP of the series because he just let in so many questionable goals. So I think he'd be a solid backup, but if I'm going into the playoffs, I'd prefer him not to be my starter, and that's no offense against him.
Yeah, no, he certainly did. Now, speaking of the Penguins a little bit here, since do you feel Crosby will retire? Like, do you feel he's going to retire soon? Like, this kind of the tree, like it's got the three kind of Crosby, Malkin, and Letang. Do you think they're all gonna retire together?
They might. I mean, look, Malkin has already said he wants to come back for one more year at least. So if they are going to all retire together, it's unlikely to be now. And I think Crosby will be back as well. But, there would be something poetic. There'd be like it would be a nice way for the three of them to ride off into the sunset together, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And of course, they've got, that will be as well. But I think, though, the Leafs, like, one of the other things that the Leafs are going to sort of have to figure out is what do they do with Nylander, and what happens to Nylander and, of course, Matthews. It seems that they both aren't too interested in hanging around too much longer.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I'm those guys and I'm, still in my prime, but sort of on the back end of it, I realize I don't have forever to try to win a Stanley Cup. And the first question I'm asking myself is, if the Maple Leafs are going to do a retool or a full rebuild, do I want to stick around for a couple of years or longer of struggles on the ice where I'm not going to really have a chance to win the Stanley Cup? And, in modern NHL, where there's free agency and players can demand a trade and all of that, they've got a lot more leverage than they did way back in the day.
Yeah. And then they've also, I mean, I think Tavares, what do you think the future of Tavares could be? He did say that. I mean, I think he took a bit. I mean, he took a bit of a salary cut to remain in Toronto to finish his career there. But do you think he's going to just? I don't know. Would he want to stick around for 1 or 2 more years? That I think is going to be the question.
Yeah, it's a good question, and these questions may be interconnected. It may depend. If Austin Matthews stays, does that make it more likely that Tavares wants to stay because he feels he's got a better chance of competing? Nylander, same thing. You don't know that. Out of all the three of them, though, I think Tavares playing for Toronto was always his dream. He's gotten to do that. I think he's very happy playing for the Maple Leafs, having that blue and white crest on his jersey. Out of the three of them, I think he's the most likely to stay.
Yeah, and how much time do you think he has left? I don't think it's more than a couple of years.
Yeah, 2-3 years tops. I mean, this was probably his last contract. If it's not, maybe he signs another 1-year deal. But look, he's still being very productive. You can't sit there and say he's not getting it done on the ice. And as long as he's getting it done and is healthy and feeling good, I can't blame him for sticking around and trying to do his best.
Yep. Yeah. No. So and of course Nylander also said too that he's not in that he's not interested in a rebuild. That he doesn't want to be back in, and I don't blame him for that either.
No, I mean, like I said, at this stage in his career,
yeah,
it doesn't make a lot of sense for him to stick around and undergo a full 3-4 year rebuild. He's 30 years old right now, just turned 30 May 1st. And it just, how many more years does he have to be on top of his game? If there's a 3-4 year rebuild, like a full rebuild in Toronto, 3 years before they make the playoffs, 4 years before they can even be considered contenders, he's going to start to decline by the time he's 34, 35 years old. I wouldn't blame him one bit for saying, you know what, I have 4 or 5 seasons left. I want to win a cup before I'm finished. And he hasn't done that yet, obviously. So, from a personal standpoint, no, I couldn't blame him if he wants to be somewhere else.
Yeah, no, exactly. And no, I don't either. Yeah. And the other team too, the Senators are certainly up and coming too.
Yeah, I like the way that team is put together, and they're heading in the right direction. They didn't get it done quite as quickly and as effectively as the Canadiens, but that team is fun to watch.
Yes, and certainly, yep, and of course if anyone also, they can tune in here, but they can also tune into the Locked On, to Locked On NHL, Locked On, all the Locked On NHL related shows to get all the playoff fixes.
Yeah, no, we've got it covered from top to bottom. And, Monday and Friday, I'm on Locked On NHL. Monday through Friday, I'm on Locked On Islanders. Every team has a daily podcast that goes 5 days a week, almost all year long. And the coverage is really great. And I really enjoy working there.
Yeah, and you know what else? And it seems that they've also expanded a bit too. They also have other offerings now, things like the Everydayer Club for people who are interested in the extra content. I think it's good what they're doing.
Yeah, the Everydayer Club is great. You can get ad-free episodes of your team's podcast, and you can be in a group chat in Discord that, with the host and with other hardcore fans of your favorite team. So that's really fun. And then you've got stuff like Locked On NHL Prospects, Locked On NHL Game Night. They've got the league covered pretty nicely.
Yeah, and you know what I also like it's not where traditionally it'd be it'd be like a 3-4 hour. You'd be listening to a 3-4 hour talk show where you're waiting for them to talk about your teams, but the Locked On Network kind of gives it to you in a 30-40 minute package.
Yeah, and if you listen to your favorite team, whether it's Locked On Leafs, Locked On Vegas Golden Knights, Locked On Islanders, whatever it is,
Yep.
that's 30 to 40 minutes of content just about your team.
Yep.
And, if you want a national perspective, you got Locked On NHL and Locked On NHL Game Night. They're going to take you more of a big picture kind of a look at league-wide issues. But, if you're following one specific team, that team's podcast has you covered all year long. Now,
for me, I actually, and as you know, I actually am following all of them, all the main NHL ones. I've got Locked On NHL, Locked On Leafs, Locked On Islanders, and I also Locked On Senators, and I think I've got Locked On Golden Knights as well. So I've got pretty much a lot of them there, because the reason is because I like to find out how everybody's doing.
Yeah, and one thing you could always do, like during the regular season, for example. So if you're a Leafs fan and the Leafs are going to play the Senators the next, on Tuesday, so Tuesday morning or Monday night, you just pop on Locked On Senators and you get an idea of, okay, what's the mindset of your opponent? Where are they at right now? What issues is the team facing? What can I expect to see on the ice when my team plays this team?
Yeah, exactly. That's like what that's what I like as well. And then you get the perspective, right? And you're not, and it's a nice package, and even on you can listen on all your favorite platforms. And one thing I like to also do is follow the YouTube channels.
Yeah, it's fun on YouTube. We got great comment sections on YouTube too. And, I get comments all the time from fans of other teams, and 99% of them are very respectful. And,
Yep.
and I'm happy to talk hockey with anybody. And you don't have to agree with my takes. As long as you're respectful and we go back and forth, it's all good. I'm never going to insult somebody's intelligence or be personal. And I'm not going to do that with players either. I'm never going to say so-and-so is a bum or so-and-so is an idiot or some other words I can't say on TV. But I am going to say so-and-so is struggling and he's not shooting enough or his defensive effort isn't good. I will try to be very specific but respectful.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And, and what I like about, and of course, the thing about, what I like about YouTube as well is that you have the level of engagement there, and also one can also, you can see the number of, subscribers and followers, see who's following, and then it's always good to know. And then you can give them shout outs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good community, and I love that aspect of it. And look, I've even, had get-togethers where a bunch of us bought tickets to an Islander game, and twice we've gone and enjoyed each other's company in person, and just had a great time sharing our love for the team. So it's a great community building thing as well.
Yeah, and you know what? It's important, what I've got going here. I've got the YouTube, the website. So I think these are, and of course the social media. It's always the more I think engaged, and the more we try to stay engaged, I think, and continue to pump out the content, I think it's good.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know where your fans come from, but I've got people listening to Locked On Islanders from Sweden and Finland and Germany and Poland and not just the United States and Canada. And it's exciting. It's great. These are people you wouldn't be able to meet in the pre-internet age.
Yeah.
And yet, they join me. We have our premieres on YouTube when the video goes live. I'm in the chat room. You get to know people, and it's really, really rewarding in that sense. Yeah.
Yep. And and those guys, and of course, Locked On Senators, those guys do a great job as well. I think they do some extra. I think they do some postcasts and stuff like that. I think
they do.
I think Ross Levitan, I think, is one of the. I think he's still involved with them.
Yes, yes, he is.
And I think it's who's his co-host? I think it's Brandon Piller. I think.
Yep. Pilsy. Yep.
Yeah. They're both really good, and I think they're actually both in different geographic locations too.
Yeah, they are. But the magic of the internet, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's good that Locked On hosts, I think it's good that they don't have to be in the respective city of where the teams are, where the, of the teams.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly helps sometimes,
Yeah.
but it's not requirement. And look, we just had a team move, the Arizona Coyotes moving up to Utah, kept the same host. And, she did a really, really good job of keeping some of the fans from Arizona and building the new fans in Salt Lake City. And, the two co-hosts there did a really good job with that transition.
Yeah, absolutely. And even now, like with the Canadians sort of in there in the third or in the next round, I'll be checking out Locked On Canadiens as well just to see what they're saying and what the perspective is. And of course, Locked On NHL as well. I always like that national perspective as well. I always like to see kind of and I do like the game night as well. I think that's very good as well.
Yeah, they do a good job covering, all the key points from the previous night's games. You watch that, all the important stories from what you can't watch all the games at once. No. So you get it all right there.
And you know what the other thing is too, and one also can't like there's so much stuff kind of going around and one can't read all the articles either.
No, it's not easy. There's a lot of information overload out there, and if you find a reliable, source that you are comfortable with, go for it. It really does help make sense of everything.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, check and of course Locked On NHL as well. If you really want to just listen to it and kind of get an idea, just listen to Locked On NHL as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, Gil, they can find you over at Locked On NHL.
Yep. Monday and Friday.
And Locked On Islanders.
Locked On Islanders, Monday through Friday. So, check us out. And always fun. We have a great group of people in our community. And I always look forward to recording the podcast and getting in that chat room and answering comments on YouTube. It's a great setup. Really is.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to having you back as well real soon and we'll talk some more NHL playoffs. Or NHL
anytime,
in general.
My friend. Always appreciate it. Anytime.
Sounds good. And we'll be back real soon on the Ali Musa Show, part of the Musa Slobodian Network.